Yo, what's up? I'm back. It's been a minute, and we're actually going to talk about that today. But I am not giving up on this idea. I cannot believe I just checked out how long it's been since I posted on a podcast, and it's been 4 weeks almost. It's been pretty crazy. Actually, sorry, it's almost been 5 weeks. So anyway, I'm back. Thanks for checking out the podcast or the YouTube. Either one, really appreciate it. And if you dig it, consider liking the video if you're on YouTube. Consider subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. I don't know why, but Anchor's taking a little while for this to get published to like Apple Podcasts. It is on Spotify, Google Podcasts. So check it out. Share with people you think would like it. And just as a quick review, this is just an audio docuseries sharing thoughts on my tech enthusiasm, self-improvement, and different life fads or trends, things that are just kind of fun to talk about. So I'm excited. Welcome to episode 2. Is that right? Just officially? I don't know. Oh yeah, I wrote it down. Episode 2. Right on. Today, just as a brief hit of what I have been thinking about, like just wanted to talk about today, these topics. Number 1, consistency. Ironic, very funny. Damn, can't believe it's been 5 weeks. Number 2, preparation. 3, we'll be talking about, I don't know why I'm listening like this. Sounds boring. The range of like tech opportunity, which I think is really exciting. I'm excited for just to kind of overview that and try not to ramble too much on any of these, by the way. Also going to be running through starting a side hustle, why I think that's important. Something that hit me one day super hard, which is listening to yourself. Taking risks, being uncomfortable. I think that's fun to talk about. And then, as always, we'll wrap up with a little app of the week, my life fad that I'm kind of into right now, or a trend or whatever. And maybe I should I'll get to that, but I'll define what that means a little bit more, rather than just talking about something kind of lame. For myself, I'd love to get anybody that's listening involved to get some feedback about it. So buckle up in for an exciting episode 2. So jacked. Number 1, and most importantly, how do you like my sweater? If you guys are listening on the podcast, go to my Twitter or my Instagram. I got some pictures up. But frickin' Windows from Microsoft reached out to me and wanted to give me a sweater. I'll do a little quick rundown. Check this out. XP Edition 2019. Windows, Microsoft. Thank you. This seriously made my day. They hit me up on my Twitter DM, asked for my address, and I happily gave that away so I could receive this beautiful sweater. I'm going to be doing, since on my YouTube I do tech tutorials and reviews, thought it'd be appropriate if I did a review about this beautiful gift. So I'll be running through that, and it'll be a little fun. Honestly, though, besides it just being really nostalgic for me because this is the first operating system that I ever ran as far as like a computer. I mean, I do remember like late 95, and then 98 came out, and that was huge, but I was still just super young. I just remember screwing around with paint at that point. And then Windows XP came out, and that's when I like really dove deep into that software. So this is super nostalgic for me. I've been thinking about like writing some type of a blog post about all my favorite features and just kind of taking a trip through memory lane. So if you know anybody that's kind of that likes to geek out on that stuff, send it my way. I'll be posting on my Twitter and my Instagram. So all right. So anyways, sweet sweater, and besides it just looking awesome, it is seriously so warm. down in my basement right now, midwinter, Utah. It gets pretty cold. And I don't feel anything. I just feel like I'm wrapped in the most comfortable whoopee of my life. So, anyways, okay. First topic, consistency. Dude, I am consistently inconsistent. That's kind of wrap your head around that. But seriously, consistency, something I've just been really thinking about a lot lately is, especially for me, and I'm just going off my own, I'm sure a ton of people have difficulty with consistency in something in their life. With me, one thing that's like really difficult is I just get excited about so many different ideas, and there's not enough time to run with them. And so I'll do something like this podcast, and I think it's so cool, and then I'll just get distracted by things, and even other things that are like good, for example, like working out or whatever. I think those things are awesome, but I just don't have the consistency to really dive deep into it. And that's what I want to talk about, because there's so much that gets in the way in our lives. And for me, I got kids, a family, I got a job, and then I want to do this on the side. So, time runs pretty slim these days. And I know it's only going to get, I hate to say worse, but it's going to be a lot more depleted as my kids get older and other activities that we're doing. And, whenever I get older and you get more tired or whatever the case is, I just don't ever feel like, if you're always waiting for you to have more time, I don't feel like you're ever going to find it. So that's one of the reasons I want to talk about consistency, because I feel like it's really important to set good small habits where you're able to just focus at a higher rate, where you're able to churn out more work at a good quality, and like I said, just focus better. I have a list of pros that I actually wrote down to help me here so I don't get stuck. But I feel like just being consistent with something and planning that out allows you to dive deeper into that subject so that you can have more quality rather than it just being a little bit more flying off the seat of your pants or whatever. You can become more familiar with it without, this is a good example. I mean, I haven't done this podcast for a while. I actually planned this out. I was planning on doing this last week, so I planned this out last Monday. Rolled around to this Monday, I had to actually go run back through all my notes just so that I was kind of up to speed on what I really want to talk about. And don't worry, it all came back to me, but it just took a second for me to jump back into it and really remember what I really want to talk about. Versus, I remember the week after my first episode I dropped, that I went through my week and I was really fresh with things that I was just trying to gather for the week of what I wanted to talk about. And if I would have just done it that week, I wouldn't have had to spend a lot of extra time diving back into it. Now, it didn't take a ton. I've just been kind of working through things for 30 minutes. But, sorry, I got some notifications flying through. Let me just mute these guys. But anyways, you guys know what I'm saying. It takes a second to bounce back into it, and that could be distracting, or at least slow you down at the least. I feel like the more consistent you are, you're able to make smarter adjustments for things. So just because you're in it so much and you get to know what you're doing, you're just able to make better pivots for things that you're doing. And like I already mentioned, three times more output, able to focus more and faster. So anyway, I stuck that buzzword this week for the last 4 weeks, as I have been consistently inconsistent with getting this podcast out and doing other things. But I feel like it's just good I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up, guys. I'm here. So I've been trying some things to help. So 3 main things that I've been really trying to focus on to help me be more consistent is, number 1, starting with small habits. For example, this podcast, I'm just going to use this as a huge example for everything going forward, but I've decided to try to record this on Wednesdays and have it out and ready to go, if not by Wednesday night, but then Thursday morning. So that's a goal of mine. So that's like my habit. Every Wednesday comes around, I just know I'm just going to get down and try to record this, even if it's for 10 minutes, whatever. Second is just don't give up on it. So even if you feel guilty about whatever, and I know we always put a bunch of self-guilt on for not doing something or whatever, but just getting back into it, like, who cares? Got to keep trying, right? And then this leads on to my next topic: preparation. I feel like that makes things so much better. I keep itching my legs right now, maybe that's like kind of a nervous thing, but preparation. I want to talk about the power of preparation because I feel like when you plan out to do something, things just go so much smoother. And I'll give a quick example. The smallest example I can really think about is if I plan out like my next day, I get my clothes ready for what I'm going to wear the next day, and I get my workout clothes ready so that those are ready to go. I don't have to like wake up and go search for them when I'm groggy or whatever. I have my lunch packed. I have my work bag ready. Everything's put away and just ready to go. I feel like when I do those things, like the next morning, I don't have any hiccups, like nothing. I just get out on time. I go work out. I'm excited. Everything's like ready to go. I don't even have to think about anything, just because I took, and this is like the lamest part. Literally takes like, for all those things, for real, probably 10 minutes. 10 minutes of time every night just to get ready to go in the morning for the next day. And like, you just feel completely different. I don't know if anyone's having experience with that. If you do, hit me up. Love to chat with you about it. But yeah, the power of preparation, I feel like, is so underrated, and just trying to like plan out your next move, and this is just for anything, even like your work day, understanding what you're trying to accomplish that day and getting that mapped out, getting your schedule done. I've talked about Cal Newport. So he's interesting. I think this is kind of cool, but at the end of every work day, he actually takes probably a good 30 minutes, maybe longer, winding down his day, understanding what he didn't get done that day, reprioritizing his list for things that he needs to get done, and then scheduling out what he's going to be doing the next day so that he's able to pump through that stuff and just like be ready for it without having to go into work and spend time diving into it, just like we talked about. Now, he also does like the first 30 minutes or an hour, I think. Don't quote me. But, regardless of whether he does it or not, it is good for you to look through your list even in the mornings and just kind of prepare out your day, rather just kind of like go through the motions or whatever. So, and I feel like that just helps get your mind in a good mindset for what you want to do and what you want to accomplish, and identify the bigger goals that you want to push, and then what activities are going to get you to those spots, right? So anyways, I just feel like it's being prepared in every facet of your life is really so helpful. So what else was I going to say about this? Oh yeah, this was interesting. I don't want to talk about these guys every podcast, but Scott Young and Cal Newport have this master course that they put together just to help people really dive in deep into learning certain specific skills to really benefit them in their careers, or maybe a passion that they've wanted to do and start something new, or make some type of a horizontal or a different move into a different career. And so they sent an email about this, and so I just get those. One thing that struck me is they talked about helping people identify what they actually want to learn about, because a lot of people don't even know, like, they want to get better at something. And I think a lot of us, I think it's human nature for us to crave to learn and to grow. But I don't feel like we always do the necessary research to identify what that is. And it's hard. Like, things change and things are always moving. Let's just talk about like the tech industry. It's like this is kind of crazy. We're about to hit 2020, right? iPhone came out in 2009, and we're almost 11 years, the 11th year of the iPhone. And think about how different the OS is, and like even the store, and how you use your phone, and how that needs to be, like who knew that landscape of what that was going to look like, and how a phone was going to play into our everyday lives and how we work and respond to email. And now it's like we're texting clients and things like that. So anyways, just kind of interesting how things are always shifting and changing. But I think it requires some work and research work, like some pretty deep thoughts on how to react to that and how to prepare to take that next step, and like what kind of skills you want to learn and what you're going to be doing. So I just thought that was interesting. Like a lot of people kind of spin their wheels on wanting to learn a skill, but they don't really quite know what that is and how that can really set you back and just kind of waste some time. So preparation, doing some research, writing things down, making goals, making lists, whatever your method is. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to do it, but taking the time to do that, I think, is so important. So anyways, I thought that was, I was just thinking as far as like consistency and what plays into that, and I feel like preparation is such a cool word that popped in my mind. And like I mentioned, like planning out your next morning, just something that small, takes 10 minutes, really makes a huge difference for how the next morning starts and how that day just like, gets kicked off to a good start. All right, this next subject's fun. I'm excited to talk about this. So I've just been thinking a lot about like the range of the current tech opportunity that we have. And I mean, it's crazy. Like I just mentioned, who knew that you could not to like mention even just like build a website, which started like 20 years ago, 10 years ago, started to pick up a lot of traction. Now it's like it's completely necessary for almost everybody to have a website, even if it's just like for a personal thing, which I definitely recommend doing. And I'll get into that in this next piece. But like think about everything that's available to us from like a technology standpoint, where we're able to, I don't know, I just feel like it's so empowering right now in this stage. And the reason I wrote this down is something that I just like really geek out on and I'm really enthusiastic about is how, what did I write down here? Just how there's so much tech available to us to help us do whatever we really want to do, whatever our creative passion is. And a lot of these things are like for free. Obviously there's some like upfront costs with some things, but not a ton. And like, I'll give you like, here's a couple examples. Think about your phone. Like if you have an Android or an Apple phone, like, and I'm talking even if it's just like 3 versions old from like the recent ones that are just released today, like you can go out and get a pretty cheap iPhone 7 and even like a pretty cheap Android phone, and the apps that are available on that to like do whatever you want is pretty crazy. And everyone could go and set up free email accounts, which comes with a ton of services. I'm planning on doing quite a few videos on this about if you open a Gmail account, just like the plethora of apps that you're able to create with and do certain things with. I mean, you can literally run a business using all this new technology for free, and the benefits that it gives you is like absolutely crazy. Storing contacts, being able to like email out to them, even if you are creating like an email list through like your Gmail, you can do that. You can literally send out an email to like 20 people, and so you can do like 3 emails at a time. I know it'd be a little annoying, but you could do that for free, which is pretty awesome. What else did I write down here? Different apps on phones and computers, tablets, the internet access that we have to handle like reminders, scheduling tasks, notes, documenting, creating video. So yeah, I just think it's kind of cool. Or you can like go get a phone, you could go get a pretty freaking cheap computer, dude. I saw some Black Friday deals for like computer for like $200, or you can do literally what I'm doing right now. If you wanted to, you could start like a show and start a YouTube account, and it's all for free. It's pretty cool. The opportunity is so cheap to get into. It's pretty crazy. Social media, the opportunity there to be able to like reach different audiences without having to like put money into marketing to run like a newspaper ad or anything like that. I think that stuff's like really empowering and fun. And so I definitely feel like over the next, I mean, it's already started. There's like, you know, there's pay to play platforms where they're starting to charge for things, and I still feel like it's still so cheap though. It's like you can go start a GoDaddy website, a one-page website for free, by the way. I've done this already. It's up. It's trevorshawn.com. There's nothing really on it. It's just one page. You can go start a blog for free through Blogspot or Blogger. I guess those are actually the same thing now. You could start a blog on an Instagram account. You can go start a free blog on Facebook. Like there's just so many opportunities for you to be able to do certain things and showcase your talents and abilities and share that with people in a free way. LinkedIn, it's a great opportunity. So anyways, I was just thinking about my technology spot for this week, last 4 weeks, whatever. And I just felt like this was like such a cool topic to talk about, and hopefully it gets you guys a little excited too. And you don't need to really know tech. You just gotta take advantage of the devices and some different platforms and figure out what you want to do and how technology can play a role in doing that. And so that kind of leads me onto this next subject, where I have started a couple side hustles recently, and I just feel, I don't want to dive too deep into this because obviously there's so much here, but I feel like everybody should start a side hustle. And I have some reasons for why. So let me just go into this. Number one, starting a side hustle is like really low cost, and the only thing it really requires is your time. And so I feel, honestly, there is no downside to it at all. Maybe a little stress, a little frustration, which is good for you. But the pros are just crazy. So number one, it just pushes you to be a little uncomfortable and also forces you to learn and grow. And that's where you can't grow unless you're able to like push yourself into that next uncomfortable realm. And so I feel like starting a side hustle allows you to do that. So, and the fun thing about side hustle is we all know how to do something. Like for me, I'm just like, I like to geek out on tech stuff. And so literally, this is super simple, but I'm just saying, I would love to sit down with people and help them open up like an email account and just show them the different services that are available through the email account and how it works and how to organize folders in your email. I know that sounds super, super nerdy, but I think it's dope. But that's just like, that's something I'm into, and I'm willing to spend the time to invest in doing it. And so if anyone has any questions about that at all in my neighborhood or with my family or anything like that, it's like I'm the dude that they talk to, and I just love doing it. And now I've been trying to push, and I'll talk about that in a second, but I try to actually use those types of skills that I have and the passion that I have for that to make a little money on the side. And it's kind of fun because there's some different things you can do that helps you just to be creative and, number one, provide a service that's really valuable for somebody, but also it's important for you to eat and get some money, right? So I think that just helps you understand how to provide solid value, and especially when you're getting paid for it, you don't want to screw up because you have like money is important to people, right? So second big pro is it also just helps force you into building skills and trying new things. And so when you start a side hustle, just like I mentioned, with like when you're dealing with people's money or you're dealing with other people's stuff rather than your own, it's just a lot more, I hate to say high stakes, but it just is a lot more responsibility than just handling something on your own. You just don't want to let that person down. And so I think that's a good thing because it forces you to be sharper about what you're doing and maybe spend a little bit more time to make sure that you know what you're talking about and what you're doing. Number three, my third reason that I think is a huge benefit of starting a side hustle is I think it helps you think bigger. I feel like life gets a little crazy and we get drained by our day to day. So working on a side hustle helps you kind of think about the big picture and, what's 2 years, what's a year, what's 5 years, what's 10 years from now, what's that look like, and how are things going to be different in 3 years from now, and how can you kind of get out in front of that and take advantage of that, and just be more efficient and be better and be prepared for those things. I think that's a huge benefit to you with starting these things, because when you start a side hustle and you're thinking about extra income and the services that you're providing, it helps you think about, okay, what's next? Am I going to be behind in a year? Kind of gets you out in front and pushes you to that next space of being creative, also being kind of that uncomfortable space and learning something new, right? And lastly, this is important. I don't think owning a business or working for yourself is super realistic for everybody. But number one, anyone can do a side hustle and provide some type of value for whatever. So for example, for me, I love the tech space and I also love coaching. I'm a huge sports fan and I played sports all growing up in high school, and I just feel so I had a ton of passion for doing that. And then after that, I started to coach, and I love coaching. And so now I coach my kids. I'm actually coaching for a high school basketball team right now. And so that's kind of like a side hustle of mine. And number one, it kind of helps fill the void that I don't get now just with time constraints or whatever, where having a side hustle kind of gives you a obligation to force you to do something regularly. So I think that's cool. And I think this is really important, but there's two roads that I think this helps you with your career or current job, and also an opportunity for something different, like creating your own thing. I feel like doing a side hustle either helps you really appreciate your current job because you start to understand how hard it really is to do your own thing. It's difficult. It takes a lot of time, takes a lot of investment. There's a lot of things that you do for free, but it's a big sacrifice of your time, and some things pay off and some things don't, and that's something that you have to figure out on your own. And so I think it really helps you either appreciate your job a ton. I think that'll happen regardless, but then it also helps you potentially make a jump to do something that you want to do, and it makes that jump a lot less scary when you're doing something part-time or whatever, and then it kind of scratches that itch for you, and then all of a sudden maybe you just kind of get sick of what you're doing and you're like, hey, I want to do something different, and then you kind of already have a path of what that is and what that looks like. Makes that jump, that risk, a little less scary, where can prepare, there's that word again, you to kind of jump into that. So anyways, that's my 2 cents on that subject, but I think it's cool. And so if there's one thing I wrote down here to kind of help you get started with that, it would be just start with some small steps to kind of get excited about it. So one thing I would say is go open an email for it. So you can either go buy a domain name for $15. I think GoDaddy does promos right now where you can buy a domain name for $16 for 2 years. So that's cool. Or you can just go start a Gmail or a Hotmail or Outlook.com account for free and label it Trevor's Paper Airplanes at gmail.com or whatever. And I think that'll kind of get you excited to have something that you can brand and speak through. So the next thing is that I would recommend is just start with people you know. So I did this with my tech stuff, and I just started with my family and friends, and you'd be surprised about what people like. I mean, to me, for example, the tech thing, even opening emails and domain names, or starting with a really simple website. The tech space is so big right now, you kind of assume that people are already doing that, but you'd be surprised by how many people aren't, and how maybe they just don't care to do it and it's not their thing. And so then you can present yourself as that kind of person to do it, and then they share that information with other people, and it can start really snowballing quickly. And lastly, don't be embarrassed. I feel like everyone has something that they're doing, and so just rep it. All right. A couple other topics here. Try to wrap this up without taking too much of your time. This topic hit me like really hard one day. I wonder if you guys can relate. Hit me up. I'd love to hear if you can or not. My email I'll post in the description for both the podcast and YouTube. It is trevor.sean@outlook.com. But so feel free to email me. I'd love to hear comments, or you can even comment on the YouTube channel. But I remember there's sometimes where you get in this fog, or you just feel kind of blah or whatever. And I remember this one day I was just sitting down and I was like, just kind of like restless. I was just like, dude, what I want to do something. I just don't know what I want to do. But the trick is you actually do know what you want to do. I was sitting there, I'm like, dude, I want to go write a blog, or I want to go record a video, or I want to go call someone to see if they need, whatever, tech stuff, or help with setting up their site, or setting up email, or whatever, right? I just remember feeling restless, and I was just kind of sitting there kind of on the blah stage. And I remember thinking like, I was literally trying to talk myself out of like doing it, just like, dude, just chill and just like sit there or whatever. Not trying to like, I don't know, what's the term? I'm not trying to like crap on myself or anything like that, but I also think it was a good lesson for me, because I just remember that day, I remember just sitting there for like an hour, and in the back of my mind, I knew what I wanted to do. I just wanted to go do something. I wanted to accomplish something that's like in like an itch of mine. And so for me, my side hustle right now that I really love and enjoy doing is I love tech reviews and tutorials. So recording those videos and sharing those. And also I love to write. And so I like to blog about anything tech related. And then I also have like I love to document kind of things I'm doing, which is why I'm doing this. And then, which is why I also started a personal website, so I can write as well and document things that are going through, just so I can look back at this process of what I'm doing and be able to learn from it and relate to it, and just kind of track how things are going. So those are my main things right now. And then I also started a business, like a small business, where I help people with their tech and digital needs, and everything from maybe getting them set up with their small business and help them with email marketing, or starting YouTube, or helping them with kind of get started on social and kind of teach them some basics of that, or buying a domain name, or setting up their email and doing like really more heavy tech support, things like that. So those are kind of like my things I'm doing right now. And I just remember thinking like, that's what I want to do. I kept like, myself was just like, just go do it. But I didn't. And then I felt super crappy after an hour, and I was talking to my wife, Joyce, about it. And she's great, but she's like, just go freaking do something. And it just kind of clicked that day, and I was like, anyways, this is just like a quick rant about my experience with it. But I was like, man, just freaking go do something. Like, and there's times where I want to work out, and I'm just like, oh, I want to work out, but you're kind of lazy and you just don't really want to do it. And it's like middle of the day, and you're like, have your clothes on or whatever. And I don't know, we create these, at least in my experience, I feel like we create these barriers for not working out during the middle of the day or whatever, because the kids are around you. You like start to give yourself like these guilt trips or something. But I feel like it's so important to take care of yourself and do the things that make you happy, so that you can be happy for the ones that you love and your family or whatever. And I know there's all this like work-life balance stuff going around, but I really do feel like everyone has something that they're really good at. Maybe you're really good at working, and you need to do more with spending time with your family and making time for that. Maybe you're really good with your family, but you need to spend more time working and putting in that kind of work, whatever the case is. So a couple things that help with this, by the way. Number one, we've already talked about it, but just like being prepared and having like a plan, and then being consistent with that, I think helps you not feel like those blah moments and feeling crappy. You already really know what you want to do in your life, typically. And so then you just got to go do it, and then you just run on that as hard as you can until you just get bored with it, and then you want to like make a pivot to do something else. And so the second thing is do what you feel and quit being indecisive about it. I feel like that's a huge thing that took me a little while to learn, where I would just be like, oh, what do I want to do? What do I want to do? But I just had to go dive into it and do it, and then accomplish something. And then you know how it is, after you accomplish something, especially when it's kind of difficult to get going, you just feel so much better about yourself. So anyways, I thought that was just a quick rant I wanted to share. Hope it hits you guys right in the feels with that one. Okay, last couple sections here. So one big thing that's so cliche, I know, but I feel like it's important to, if you can really wrap your head around it and really dive into it, especially if you're kind of feeling stuck, is taking risks. Man, taking risks is freaking hard, especially as you get older. It's like, you know, I know, hitting back on we create like these guilt trips for ourselves for so many different reasons. It's like, oh, we have kids and we can't do that to them, and we have obligations, and what happens if this, what happens if that, whatever. It's like, I don't know, I feel like if you really just dive all the way down deep into it and just talk about the worst case scenario, whatever happens, number one, the worst case scenario is like you die and you're done. And so that, I don't feel like is super realistic. The other more realistic things is like, you know, maybe you own a house and you can't afford it anymore, you have to sell it out, you have to go live somewhere, you know, whatever the case is. Like, there's all these different risks, and there's tons of things that we can lose out on. But if you really just take all those things away and you just like look at the very bare bones basic things, it's like, as long as you can stay with the people that you love and try to do whatever you want to do, I think that those are like the bare minimums. And so whatever you're trying to risk to accomplish and achieve, as long as you can maintain those things, which I feel like would take a ton to get, like, to lose those things, then you can just like, then it's not as scary anymore, and you can just do whatever you want. Plus, you got to be smart about it, obviously. And I just feel like right now, especially, there's just so much opportunity to work plenty of jobs to be able to maintain whatever income that you need to live your life and make sure your family's good, or whatever, make sure you're good, and also put your foot into something else and take that risk to go do something. And so obviously make sure like you're prepared to handle things. Maybe you need to create a little bit of a buffer and savings or whatever. But anyways, without getting all detailed or whatever, I just feel like being uncomfortable and being in that next space of, you know, some unsurety, and that forces you just to like heighten your senses and just to be sharper and to be more dedicated and to spend more time to do whatever you want to do. I just feel that risk and that like that little bit of anxiety and that nervous feeling, I feel like is so essential to help you get to the point of doing what you want. And so anyways, I'm just like I feel like I battled back and forth with this a little bit, with like even as small as like just spending time doing like your side hustle or something, and you battle yourself and like, oh, is this gonna be worth it? I'm gonna spend 2 weeks 4 hours a day, and then is it even gonna be worth it or whatever? And it's like, hell yeah, I think it's worth it. You should freaking do it, because what else are you gonna do? What else? You're just gonna like not do anything? I just feel so. Anyways, I just been thinking about all these things and how they really just kind of group together. I hope you can kind of see the map of my mind and how I was thinking about this week in particular. But I just feel like it's always important to grow. I feel like we're either growing or we're losing, and so having that mindset to continue to push yourself, and having people around you to have that same type of drive, I just feel like it's so important for our overall growth. Oh my gosh, I almost lost it. I almost just shut off this podcast. Back to referencing one of the few sources I follow, Gary Vee, and he just talks about this a lot. But I was listening to a podcast during this week of preparation, and he says something just so simple, but it's either risk or regret. So which one would you rather have? And I'm going to jump on the risk train. So let's go. Hop on. Choo choo. All right. Last couple things here. App of the week. I don't have like a new fancy app. I have been trying one. It's finance related, which I love, and I'll talk about that next time because I've been getting into some money things that I feel like are pretty important to talk about, and how tech can play a cool role in that. So I'm excited to talk about that this next round. However, for this week, I dove into Twitter a ton, especially with this sweater and sharing some stuff and just kind of getting into some conversations. And I feel, in my opinion, Trevor's humble opinion here, that Twitter is such an underrated app. And so, man, if you haven't gone on there, or if you don't have a Twitter account, I think you freaking need to set one up. And it's going to take you a second, but if you can just start to dive into some conversations around something that you like, it is awesome. I mean, there's just like these awesome pockets of different communities that you can really dive into deep with. And number one, people are freaking funny. And so I feel like you'll enjoy it. And then if you're really serious about doing like the side hustle thing, like we talked about earlier, I feel like Twitter gives you a really great chance to, number one, create some type of community around whatever you're trying to do. And secondly, I feel like it's a great platform to have conversations and to talk to different businesses and be able to relate to different people and just kind of like get into that conversation and be more involved with it. So anyways, Twitter is my app of the week. So if you don't have one, go sign up for one. It's seriously sick. Just try to remember, I feel like now more than ever, it's a lot more important to create than just to consume. So make sure you're using like these platforms to give your 2 cents rather than just like always take in, because I feel like there's so many things to consume right now. Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, podcasts, books. I mean, there is like tons of stuff. If you can't have some type of an outlet to be able to push out something, I feel like you're going to go crazy. And I think I talked extensively about that in my last episode if you want to check that out. And then lastly, life fads, some trends. Right now, I'm on this sweater kick. So let me just define what I mean by like these life fads and what I kind of expect from this piece of the show. I would love to get some interaction from this side and just like hear from you some like recommendations around whatever I present in this section. So today it's sweaters. So do you guys have a favorite sweater that you buy? Do you get like an ugly sweater every year for Christmas, for the holidays, whatever? Do you have like a go-to sweater that you, a company or some type of a brand that you get every winter that's just like killer? Or do you have this old favorite one that you have from 8th grade that you just wear? Whatever the case is, I'd love to hear from you. Hit me up in the comments on YouTube. Check me or send me an email or whatever. Love to hear from you guys. And that is it. Episode 2 done. I'm out of here. Seriously, really appreciate you guys checking out the podcast. I really appreciate you checking out the YouTube channel. Stay tuned. I'm more motivated than ever to push out some other content, so I'm excited about it. And I hope you guys have a killer week. Hope you guys found something valuable with this stuff. One person I would really recommend going and checking out if you guys need some type of extra motivation is Gary Vee. He has a great podcast, has a great YouTube channel, has a ton of great content, puts it out for free. He's a great dude, helps you take ownership of things and start something. So go check that out. And then as always, I feel like books are a great resource. So I should actually post a blog post about books I recommend for the 2019 year. So stay tuned. Peace out. Thanks, guys.